Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced, head of DevRel here at Dremio. And what I want to do is just show you a demonstration of using MCP with something other than Claude Desktop. So if you're not familiar with what MCP is, it's Model Context Protocol. It's essentially a standard way of being able to containerize, or not containerize, but encapsulate agentic logic. So usually when you would create like an AI agent, you would just kind of create this one piece of software that has these ability to do things, these tools. The thing is that it would be all be bundled. So essentially every time you wanted to create another thing, you'd kind of have to recreate the whole thing. So with MCP, you can create MCP servers, which allow you to kind of bundle all this sort of functionality for a specific thing and allow you to reuse it. So I can create multiple agents that connect to different MCP servers, and I can, some MCP servers might need this bundle of functionality, and they can just connect to the MCP servers they like. Okay, but that requires an MCP client. So right now, the main MCP client that you can just download off the shelf is the Claude Desktop, because basically Anthropic, the creators of the Claude model, they're the ones who created MCP. But theoretically, MCP can be used with any LLM. In this example, what I generally am using Linux day in and day out, where Claude Desktop is not available. So basically, I would have to hop on my Mac or my Windows PC in order for me to take advantage of MCP using Claude Desktop. But I'm typically on Linux, so what I wanted to do is create a tool that allows me to kind of do that. So what I did is I created a very simple client. Let me bring it up, MCP client. Here it is. Langchain MCP client basically just uses Langchain. Langchain is a framework for creating agentic applications, and I use some of the extensions it has to be able to leverage MCP. Okay, so that you can use this client yourself. I'll link to it in the video description. But basically, this allows you to basically create a chat-based interaction with as many MCP servers as you'd like, and that's what I'm going to be demoing here. So what I've done is I'm going to be using the Dremio MCP server that allows you to interact with Dremio via chat. Okay. So what I've done is I've actually deployed Dremio locally, which you can do really pretty simply by just running this one Docker command. So if you have Docker installed on your computer, you run this one command, then you can head over to localhost 9047, and you can see that you'll have Dremio running. Okay, so you can actually go try it out, and then you can go add the sample source. So here you have some sample data that you can go play around with. Okay, so right now in my sample data, I have this one data set weather that I've promoted. It's a CSV file, and I've told Dremio that, hey, I want you to treat this as a table. Okay, so again, just to show you exactly how that works, here's some taxi trips data as a CSV file. If I want Dremio to treat this as a table, I just click on Format File. This is generally what happens when you're interacting with data lakes in Dremio. Okay, you see the files, and you can tell Dremio to treat those files as tables. Okay, or even if it's a folder of particular file. Okay, cool. So then I downloaded I cloned the Dremio MCP server, which is what I have right here, and I created a config file that basically gives the information that needed to connect to my Dremio instance. So in this case, it's the PAT token and localhost 947 because it's running on my laptop. And now again, where did I get this PAT token from? Now, if you're using like Dremio Cloud, you can easily generate that from the UI. But if you're using this Docker container, you're going to need to make an API call. So to make that simple, I just basically have this really simple script here. Okay, literally, I have a library that I've created called Dremio Simple Query that I created like a couple years ago. That makes it really easy to just kind of query Dremio. So in this case, I'm just passing it my endpoint, giving it my username and password, and then using this get token function, it's just going to go hit that API and return me the PAT token, and then I can print that out, and I was able to copy that over to my config file. Cool. So that's kind of how that's how I ended up configuring the server. So basically, again, there's two steps. I configure the server so that way the Dremio MCP server knows how to connect to my Dremio instance, and then I have to configure my MCP client to be able to talk to the MCP server, which for my custom MCP client, that's all configured through this MCP servers.json file, where I just pass it, different information on different MCP servers. So in this case, it says, hey, Dremio, you're going to connect through standard input-output, which means it's instead of it connecting to a web server that is serving the MCP stuff, which would be which that type would be called an HTTP transport. So you can have MCP servers that are, nowadays everyone's using Cloud Desktop, and Cloud Desktop is going to do standard input output by default, which is why if you've done MCP with Cloud Desktop, you've never configured this property because it's assumed. Cloud Desktop doesn't support currently HTTP MCP servers, while this client does both. So you can actually have like online running MCP servers you can connect to. This is the command. So we're going to use the UV command, which is a Python dependency library, dependency manager thing, because Python has all these different ones that you can use, like Poetry and whatnot. And then this is just the command to actually run the server and connect to it. Okay, and then that's kind of how, and then basically it's going to interact with that server based on the standard output of that process, essentially. So instead of it connecting to via HTTP and making HTTP calls back and forth to exchange information, it's just going to use the standard input output from that process to receive data. That's essentially all that's happening. Okay, so that's essentially how I configured it. So basically, again, just to recap, I had to tell the Dremio MCP server how to talk to my Dremio, and then I had to tell my MCP client how to talk to the MCP server. But once that's all set, all I do is run it. Python client.py. Okay, and then in a moment we'll be all connected. And there we go. See, I'm all connected. And I can say, hey, what tables do I have other than system tables? Okay. So now what it's going to do is going to go query Dremio, try to see, hey, what tables do I have? It's going to filter out the system tables and come back to me with a response. Okay. And there we go. So see, notices that I have those two sample data sets. In this case, NYC taxi trips data, the NYC weather data. It's like, can you get me the average precipitation? Actually, let's see if it'll even figure out the column name. So let's see here. Can you get me the average precipitation based in NYC based on the weather data set? Okay, now let's see. Again, we're going to get a little adventurous here because, again, the column name in that data set is actually PRCP. So we'll see if, like, the LLM can figure it out. Let's have some fun with it. Cool. And then again, it's going to come back with a response. It takes a second sometimes because it's running multiple queries. Again, if you're not familiar with how agentic workflows work, it could go through several different steps to solve a particular problem. Okay, the correct table containing the weather data set for NYC. Provide the exact table name or specify a schema where the weather data set is stored. Okay, how about this? It is the NYC weather.csv data set. The data set, could you please clarify the information unless you would like? Summary schema. Basically, the average precipitation. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Give me the average PRCP in the NYC weather.csv dataset. Okay, I will just copy the dataset name from over here. Give me the average PRCP in the dataset. Let it do its thing. Oh, and there it goes. It calculated it. It's approximately 0.14. Now, the cool thing is, now if I go back to Dremio and I take a look at my jobs panel, okay, we refresh that. And in this moment, we'll see all the queries that have been coming into our Dremio cluster here. And I can see, like, hey, look, there's the query. It's like, here's the query, the tables query that I was using to find, hey, what the list of tables are. Here's like the query for the weather, where hey, look, see right there, it was getting the average PRCP. Okay, and even knew, and that's neat actually. That's smart. It even knew how to cast it as a figure, because again, it's a CSV data set, so by default the column would have been a text column or a varchar column. So in that case, it actually knew and was smart enough to figure out that hey, I should cast it as a double in order to complete this query. So that's actually pretty neat. That's not something I instructed it to do. It just kind of knew that's what I wanted. So again, and right now I'm using this with OpenAI. So if you were using this with like Claude Desktop, you'd be using it with like Anthropic, and that's the beauty of all this. Like I can run this MCP server with any model, and I can use it with different OpenAI models. So if I wanted to use it with a cheaper model or a more expensive model, I can. And the thing is, since I'm using Langchain, all you have to do is install the right Langchain libraries for the model that you want. I am going to update it now so that way it has all the libraries for all the different models to begin with. Yeah. Just hopefully this kind of demonstrates what you can do. And again, you can also, when you clone my client, it actually comes with a couple sample MCP servers for like weather and math already built in, so you can play with it, right out of the gate. But hopefully you guys kind of see the beauty of MCP in the sense that you can have one client. So in this case, I can just take this chat app, and again, I can exit out of it by just typing exit. I'm able to interact with Dremio via chat. Okay, so again, imagine you're someone who doesn't know SQL. I can, of course, I need to, discover the data. I can discover data sets. I can ask it questions and get answers pretty much right off the bat. And again, this is something we just recently released. So again, it's continuously improving the MCP server. But again, I can start connecting other tools to it. So imagine you connect an MCP server for something like a SendGrid that allows you to like send texts. And then basically what I can do is I can say, hey, look up this data in this data set and use that information to send emails to these people. And then it basically uses the SendGrid MCP server to go send those emails out. You can start seeing where you start creating really interesting mix and match workflows by connecting different MCP servers into different clients. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. My name is Alex Merced, head of DevRel here at Dremio. And again, if you haven't tried Dremio, I do highly recommend, just running this right on your laptop and just playing around with it, connecting some of your data sources. It's pretty simple. You just click over here and add source, and you can click and go add your data lake, your database, whatever, and see how easy it is to query it from one place. And then again, Dremio Enterprise has all sorts of other features. I do have some demo videos that show you the full feature set when you go for the full enterprise version. But overall, lots of really cool stuff. And again, the world of AI is just becoming pretty interesting when you have something that allows you to kind of incrementally build agentic workflows like MCP. So I'll see y'all later. Have a great day.